This is the EdExcel GCSE 9-1 Maths Paper 2 from the Foundation tier, and this paper is from the November 2023 series. Question number 1. Write down two factors of 18. Well, let's write down the factors of 18. We have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. We can write down any of these two, for example 2 and 9. Question number 2. Write 0.9 as a fraction. Well, we have one digit after the decimal place, which means our fraction will be out of 10. We have 0.9, which is the same as 9/10. Question number 3. Change 7 meters into centimeters. So, we have 7 meters, and if I multiply this by 100 to convert it into centimeters, we end up with 7 multiplied by 100, which is 700. So we have 7 meters, which is the same as 700 centimeters. Question number 4. Write down a square number that is between 10 and 50. Let's write down the square numbers. We have 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, and we could continue on. We are after a square number that is in between 10 and 50, so we can choose any of the 16, 25, 36 or 49. For example, we could choose the 25. Question number 5. Work out 50% of 240. 50% is the same as halving. So 1/2 of 240 is 120. Question number 6. Lydia works for 4 hours. She is paid £50. How much is Lydia paid per hour? So we have the total number of hours worked being 4 hours. So we do 50 divided by 4, that's £12.50. So her pay is £12.50 per hour. Question number 7. Here is a 3D shape. Part A. Write down the name of this 3D shape. This shape here is a cone. Part B. In the space below, draw a sketch of a triangular prism. This is a triangular prism. Question number 8. Curtis needs to buy some items for his sports club. Here are the prices. Footballs, £9.50 each. Hockey sticks, £30 for 2. Cricket bats, £23 each. Tennis balls, £5 for 4. Curtis needs to buy 5 footballs, 6 hockey sticks, 2 cricket bats, 4 tennis balls. Curtis has £200 to spend. Show that Curtis can buy all the items he needs. So we require 5 footballs, which are £9.50 each. So there we have £9.50 multiplied by 5. And we add on to this the cost for hockey sticks. So if it's £30 for 2, we have 6 hockey sticks. We have the £30 multiplied by 3. And that's because 2 plus 2 plus 2 gives 6, which is why we have to multiply by 3. We add on to this the cost of cricket bats. Those are £23 each, and we require 2 of those, so we have 23 multiplied by 2. And we add on to this the cost for the tennis balls. Tennis balls are £5 for 4. We require 4 of them, so we simply add on £5. Let's find the cost. £9.50 multiplied by 5 plus 30 multiplied by 3 plus 23 multiplied by 2 plus 5. That gets us 188.5. So the total cost is £188.50. And if I compare this amount to the £200, we can see £188.50 is less than £200, so he has enough money. Question number 9. Harris is buying a shirt and a tie. He has a choice of 3 colours of shirt and a choice of 3 styles of tie. So for shirts we've got white, blue or grey, and for tie we've got plain, striped or checked. Harris is going to choose one shirt and one tie. We have to list all the possible combinations Harris can choose. So, we could have white and plain, white and striped, white and checked, or we could have blue and plain, blue and striped, blue and checked, or we could have grey and plain, grey and striped, grey and checked. These are our combinations. Question number 10. There are 24 red counters and 40 blue counters in a bag. Write down the ratio of the number of red counters to the number of blue counters in the bag. Give your ratio in its simplest form. So we've got red to blue being 24 to 40. Both have a highest common factor of 8, so we need to divide both sides by 8. And if we do so, 24 divided by 8, that's 3. 40 divided by 8, that's 5. So the ratio in its simplest form is 3 to 5. Question number 11. Rima is going to roll a fair 6-sided dice. Part A. Choose the word that best describes the probability that the dice will land on the number 3. The probability that the dice will land on a number 3, well, out of 6 possible options, one of those is a 3. So we have 1/6. This corresponds to a probability word of unlikely. Part B. Choose the word that best describes the probability that the dice will land on an odd number. Well, out of 6 possible outcomes, there are 3 odd numbers, so we have 3/6. This is equal to 1/2, which corresponds to a probability word of evens. Question number 12. A car travels at an average speed of 37 miles per hour for 3 hours. Work out the distance that the car travels in the 3 hours. So we have the average speed, 37 miles per hour, multiplied by the time, 3 hours. It's as though the hours units simplify to 1. So we have 37 multiplied by 3, which is 111. So we have 111 miles. Question number 13. Milo is trying to find the area of this rectangle. The rectangle has dimensions 5 centimeters by 4 centimeters. He writes, the area is 400 centimeters squared because 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 4 is 400. Part A. Explain what is wrong with Milo's method. To work out the area of the rectangle, what you should have done is 5 times 4. Anya works out the area of a shape. Her answer is 86 centimeters. Part B. Explain why her answer cannot be fully correct. If we work out an area and we end up with units of centimeters, something has gone wrong. So the units should be centimeters squared instead. Question number 14. 3 kilograms of flour costs £4 and 5 pence. 5 kilograms of flour and 6 kilograms of sugar costs £11 85 pence. We have to work out the cost of 2 kilograms of flour and 5 kilograms of sugar. So we have 3 kilograms of flour, which equal £4 5 pence. And then we have 5 kilograms of flour plus 6 kilograms of sugar, which is equal to 11.85. Let's call these equations equation 1 and equation 2. We need to find out what F is and what S is. So, to find out what F is, I need to do 4.05 divided by 3, which is 1.35. So F is 1.35, and we can use this to find out what S is. So using equation 2, we have 5 multiplied by 1.35 plus 6s equals 11.85. 5 multiplied by 1, 35. That's 675. So we have 675 plus 6s equals 11.85. If I subtract 675 from both sides, 11.85 subtract 675, that's 5.1. So we have 6s equals 5.10. and if I divide this by 6, you will find S to equal 0.85. Now what we need to do is find the cost of 2 kilograms of flour and 5 kilograms of sugar. We have the cost of 1 kilogram of flour and 1 kilogram of sugar. So we have 2 multiplied by 135 plus 5 multiplied by 0.85. So we have 2 multiplied by 135 plus 5 multiplied by 0.85. And if I work this out, I get 695. So we have 695. Question number 15. Martha and Nabil share £120. Martha gets 72% of the money. She spends 30% of the money she gets. How much money does Martha have left? If she gets 72% of the money, let's find out how much money she has. Martha has 72%, so that's 0.72 as a decimal, multiplied by 120. So if I work this out, I get £86.40. She spends 30% of this money. So she spends 30%, that's 0.3, of this money, £86.40. So if I multiply this by 0.3, I get £25.92. So she spends £25.92. So the amount of money she has left, that's £86.40, subtract £25.92. So if I work this out, we get £60.48. So she has £60.48 left. Question number 16. 160 people were asked to choose their favourite type of book. They each chose from romance or adventure or horror or thriller. 85 of these people were children, the rest were adults. 19 of the 33 people who chose romance were children. 34 of the 76 people who chose adventure were adults. 7 adults chose thriller. The number of children who chose thriller was the same as the number of adults who chose horror. You have to work out the total number of people who chose horror. You must show how you get your answer. Well, we've got 2 types of categories. We've got people who are either children or adults, and then we've got favourite type of book, romance, adventure, horror or thriller. And because of that, we have to construct a 2-way table. So, we've got 85 children altogether out of 160 people. Then we have 19 children out of 33 who chose romance. We have 34 adults out of 76 who chose adventure. 7 adults chose thriller. And with this we have to work out the number of people altogether who chose horror. Let's find out how many adults there are. 160 take away 85, that's 75. To find out how many adults chose romance, 33 subtract 19, that's 14. To find out the number of children who chose adventure, 76 subtract 34, that's 42. We know that the number of adults who chose horror is the same as the number of children who chose thriller. Let's find out the number of adults who chose horror. 75 take away 7, take away 34, take away 14, that's 20. So we have 20 adults who chose horror, and this is the same as the number of children who chose thriller. So for the number of children who chose thriller, that's also 20. We can now find out the number of children who chose horror. 85 subtract 20 subtract 42 subtract 19, that's 4. So we have 4 children who chose horror. We can now find out the total number of people who like thriller. 20 plus 7, that's 27. And to find out the number of people who like horror, that's 4 plus 20, which is 24. So the total number of people who chose horror is 24. Question number 17. Here are the heights in centimetres of 16 sunflowers. We have to show this information in a stem and leaf diagram. The first smallest number is 160. So if I add this to the stem and leaf, we've got 16 here and 0 here. Now, what does this represent? Well, it would represent 160. So the next one is 162, so we put a 2 here. The next one is 168, so we put an 8 here. The next one is 172, so we put 17 here and then a 2 here. The next one, again 172, so we put a 2 here. The next one, 173, so put a 3 here. Next one, 177, so put 7 here. Next one, 178, so put an 8 here. Then we've got the 180s, so we've got 180, put a 0 here. Another 180, so put another 0 here. Put an 183, 3 goes here. Then 184, so 4 goes here. 186, so 6 goes here. 188, 8 goes there. Then I've got the 190s, so I've got 191, and then I've got 197. Here is the completed stem and leaf diagram. Question number 18, part A. Work out 9.8 plus 6.8 all over 4.2 multiplied by 2.1. Give your answer as a decimal. Write down all the figures on your calculator display. So let's key this into our calculator. We press the fraction button. We then have 9.8 plus 6.8 divided by 4.2 multiplied by 2.1. And if I press the STD button, we see the decimal 1.882086168. Part B. Write your answer to part A correct to 2 decimal places. Well, if I look at the third decimal place, that's this 2, because this is less than 5, the second decimal place does not need to move up a digit. So we have 1.88 to 2 decimal places. Question number 19. The diagram shows a quadrilateral ABDE and an equilateral triangle BCD. CB is parallel to DE and the angle AED is equal to 132 degrees. We have to work out the size of the angle marked X. You must give a reason for each stage of your working. Well, here we have 90 degrees. Now, the first thing we can recognize is that the angle BCD equals the angle CDB equals the angle DBC, which is equal to 60. And that's because angles in an equilateral triangle are equal. So that's shown here. Next, co-interior angles are up to 180, so the angle EDC is 120 degrees, and that's because co-interior angles sum to 180 degrees. So if this angle is 60 and the entire angle is 120, that means the angle EDB is 60 degrees. So let's show this on the diagram. Now we've got a quadrilateral here, and we know that the sum of the angles in a quadrilateral sum to 360. So I've got x plus 132 plus 60 plus 90 gives 360. And that's because angles in a quadrilateral sum to 360 degrees. So I've got x plus, now here 132 plus 60 plus 90, that's 282. And summing all this together we get 360. And subtracting 282 from both sides, x is equal to 78. So x is 78. Question number 20, part A. Complete the table of values for y equals x squared subtract x subtract 2. Well, we need to use our calculator function to find the corresponding y values for the given x values. So if we go to the menu and then to the table sub menu, f of x is the function x squared, subtract x, subtract 2. We're starting at -2 and we're finishing at 3. We're going up in ones. So here we can see our values. When x is -2, y is 4. When x is -1, y is 0. When x is 0, y is -2. When x is 1, y is -2. When x is 2, y is 0. When x is 3, y is 4. Part B, on the grid, draw the graph of y equals x squared subtract x subtract 2 for values of x from -2 to 3. Well, when x is -2, y is 4, so that is shown here. When x is -1, y is 0. When x is 0, y is -2. When x is 1, y is -2. When x is 2, y is 0. When x is 3, y is 4. So to draw this graph of y equals x squared subtract x subtract 2, we need to join these up with a smooth curve, as we see here. Question number 21. Describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle A onto triangle B. Well, what we can see is we have a reflection in this line here, and this line has equation y equals -x. So we have a reflection in the line y equals -x. Question number 22, part A. Expand and simplify 3 multiplied by 2y subtract 5 plus 7 lots of y plus 2. 3 multiplied by 2y, that's 6y. 3 multiplied by -5, that's -15. 7 multiplied by y, that's 7y. 7 multiplied by 2, that's 14. And if we simplify all this, 6y plus 7y, that's 13y. -15 plus 14, that's -1. Part B, factorise fully 6x squared plus 15x. The highest common factor of 6x squared and 15x is 3x. And then we multiply 3x by 2x to get 6x squared. We multiply 3x by 5 to get 15x. So we have 3x multiplied by 2x plus 15. Part C, make g the subject of the formula f equals 3g plus 11. First thing is to subtract 11 from both sides. That leaves us with f subtract 11 equals 3g. Next step is to divide both sides by 3. That leaves us with f subtract 11 over 3 equals g. So we have g equals f subtract 11 over 3. Question number 23. Karen is organising a party for a charity. She spends £100 on food, £120 on a hall, £80 on a DJ. Karen sells 54 tickets for the party. Each ticket costs £7.50. We have to work out the percentage profit Karen makes for the charity. So, the first thing we can do is find out the income. We have 54 tickets sold at £7.50 each. So we have 54 multiplied by £7.50. And if we work this out, we end up with 405. So the income is £405. Let's see what she has outgoing. The cost, that's £100 on food, plus £120 on a hall, plus £80 on a DJ, that's £300. So for the percentage profit, we have 405 subtract 300 divided by 300 multiplied by 100. So if I work this out, 405 subtract 300 over 300, that's 0.35, and if I multiply this by 100, I get 35. So the percentage profit is 35%. Question number 24. Andrew invests £4,500 in a savings account for 2 years. The account pays compound interest at a rate of 3.4% per year. we have to calculate how much Andrew has in the savings account at the end of the 2 years. So we have the original amount 4,500 multiplied by 1.034, so that's the interest rate per year, and then we square this because we are investing for 2 years. So if I work out what this is, we end up with 4,811.202. Now, of course, we want to write this to 2 decimal places, so we end up with £4,811.20. Question number 25. Solve 5x subtract 14 equals 52 subtract x. So with this equation, we need to find out what x is. The first step is to add x to both sides. So on the left hand side, I've got 5x plus x, which is 6x. Then I've got the negative 14, and this is equal to 52, and I've got negative x plus x, which is 0x. So I've got 6x subtract 14 equals 52. If I now add 14 to both sides, I've got 6x, negative 14 plus 14 is 0. On the right hand side, I've got 52 plus 14, which is 66. 6x is 66, and if I divide both sides by 6, you will find x to equal 11. Question number 26. Chris, Debbie and Errol share some money in the ratio 3 to 4 to 2. Debbie gets £120. Chris then gives some of his share to Debbie and some of his share to Errol. The money that Chris, Debbie and Errol each have is now in the ratio 2 to 5 to 3. How much money did Chris give to Errol? Well, we've got this ratio of C to D to E being 3 to 4 to 2. And we know that Debbie gets in total 120. So we've got 4 parts, which is 120, which means each part is going to be worth 120 divided by 4, which is 30. So each part is worth 30. So Chris, that's 3 times 30, which is 90. And Errol, that's 2 times 30, which is 60. Now altogether, the total money that I have is 90 plus 120 plus 60, which is £270. So, if we show the new ratio, we've got 2 to 5 to 3. That's stated here. Now, they're going to have the same amount of money of £270. Now, how many parts do we have? We've got 2 plus 5 plus 3. That's equal to 10. So, 270 divided by 10, that's 27. So, each part is worth 27. So for C, we've got 2 times 27, which is 54. For D, we've got 5 times 27, which is 135. And for E, we've got 3 times 27, which is 81. So the amount of money that Chris gives to Errol, well, what we need to pay attention to here is how Errol's money has increased. It's increased by £21 because 81 subtract 60 is 21. So he's gained 20 more pounds from Chris. So we have £21. Question number 27. The bearing of port B from port A is 147 degrees. Work out the bearing of port A from port B. So we've got A and B shown here. The bearing of port B from port A is 147. So that's this angle here, which means this angle here will be 180 subtract 147, which is 33. So this angle is 33. Now we know that angles around a point sum to 360. So if I do 360 subtract 33, that's 327. So we are going from B to A because we are working out the bearing of port A from port B, so that is 327 degrees. Question number 28. The diagram shows an empty tank in the shape of a cylinder. The cylinder has radius 15 cm and height 43 cm. Water flows into the tank at a rate of 0.47 litres per minute. We have to calculate the number of minutes it will take to completely fill the tank. Give your answer correct to the nearest minute. So the first thing we need to do is find out the volume of the cylinder. The volume is equal to pi multiplied by 15 squared, so that's the circular base, and we multiply this by the height of 43. So if I work out what this is equal to, pi times 15 squared times 43 is 30,394.98, etc. So this is in centimetres cubed. Now here we've got units of litres, so if I divide this by 1,000, the volume is therefore equal to 30.39, etc. litres. Now we need to find out the time it takes to completely fill this tank. So we've got this rate of 0.47 litres per minute. So the time is 30.39, etc. litres divided by 0.47 litres per minute. So if I take this 30.39, etc., and if I divide it by 0.47, we end up with 64.67, etc. minutes. We want our answer correct to the nearest minute, so this is approximately 65 minutes. Question number 29. ABC is a right-angled triangle. We have to calculate the length of AB, give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. First of all, we can recognise we are required to find AB, which is opposite to the angle 49 degrees, and we are given BC, which is adjacent to 49 degrees. So, using that, we can use the trigonometric function tangent. So the tan of 49 is equal to the opposite AB divided by the adjacent 28. We need to rearrange for AB. So AB is equal to 28 multiplied by tan of 49. So let's work this out. I've got 28 multiplied by the tan of 49, and turns out we get 32.2, etc. So to 3 significant figures, we have 32.2 centimetres. Question number 30. Solve the simultaneous equations 3x plus y equals negative 4.5, 4x plus 3y equals negative 3.5. The first thing is we will multiply this equation 3x plus y equals negative 4.5 by 3. The reason for that is because it will make the number of y's the same. So, doing so, we end up with 9x plus 3y equals negative 13.5. I'm going to call this equation 1. And then we've got the other equation, 4x plus 3y equals negative 3.5. You can now see we've got the same number of y's and the same sign, so we need to subtract the equations. So we will do equation 1, subtract equation 2. 9x subtract 4x, that's 5x. 3y subtract 3y, that's 0y. And this is equal to negative 13.5 subtract negative 3.5. Now, be careful here. We've got negative 13.5 subtract negative 3.5. That gets us negative 10. So I've got 5x equals negative 10, which means x is negative 2. What we will now do is substitute this value of x back into equation 1. So I've got 9 multiplied by x, so I've got 9 multiplied by negative 2, plus the 3y equals negative 13.5. Negative 18 plus 3y equals negative 13.5. And if I add 18 to both sides, I've got 3y equals, now here I've got negative 13.5 plus 18, which is 4.5. So I've got 3y, which is 4.5. So if I divide both sides by 3, y is equal to 1.5. So x is equal to negative 2, y is equal to 1.5.